The knife that started Knifewear looks an awful lot like this one. It was bought in 1999 by Kevin when he worked in London as a chef, and currently sits on the wall in the Calgary Knifewear. It's a little worse for wear. It's done a lot of work. It's been sharpened a whole bunch of times, but it's made by a company called Haruyuki, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about them. A lot of the knives here in Knifewear, we put them into two camps. You've got handmade knives and factory-made knives. And the only thing that really means is that they start at a different point. When we say handmade at Knifewear, we mean that the knife involves a hammer and a fire and a human, and they just take it, they stick the metal in the fire, they take it out, they hit it with a hammer until it's knife-shaped. That's the Coles Notes on how to make a knife. When we say factory-made, all we mean is that the knife starts from a stamped piece of steel. Picture a big sheet of steel. It's almost like you're making shortbread cookies, okay? They take a knife-shaped cookie cutter and they stamp out a piece, and that's what they get started with. The rest of the process is very, very similar. Most of the work is done by hand. All the grinding, all the sharpening, the handles, some of the finishes, the etching, done by hand, just like the handmade knives. So when you hear handmade versus factory-made, it's not always indicative of quality. Harayuki is a really cool company that we have 8 different lines from. They make a wide variety of stuff, and their approach to this makes a really reliable line of knives. You know, you can expect if I've bought this knife once, I'm going to buy it again. It's going to be spot on. They're usually, the cost is down, so you can get something super ridiculous sharp for not as much. And you know what? There's still talented craftsmen every step of the way. The sharpener, the etcher, you know, it's the handle maker, any of that stuff. Every step of the way, you're getting a quality product. The biggest difference is only where they get started. So let me talk a little bit more about the different knives from Harayuki. Like I said, there's 8 different lines. They cover the whole gamut. You've got stuff for culinary students. You've got stuff for sushi chefs. You've got stuff for like ultra home enthusiasts who only want the best. Everything is well covered. The neat thing about all the different lines from Harayuki is they name them after different types of sake. I don't know as much about sake, so be patient. Don't harass me too much in the comments, please. Getting started, much like the way we organize our stores, I'm going to show you these knives in order of hardness, right? In order of performance. The harder the steel, the sharper the knife, the longer it's going to stay sharp. So the first knife from Harayuki is the Harayuki Mugi. Okay, it's made out of AUS 8. It's a really versatile stainless steel. Okay, it's at the kind of the beginning end of our spectrum. It's going to be a really great knife as a gift. It looks awesome. It's not too hard to take care of. Culinary students love it because they tend to be hard on things. The next up is a Harayuki Goma. Step up in hardness. Okay, now we're dealing with VG10, which is a stainless steel we see a lot of, right? It's very common in Japanese kitchen knives. It was actually designed to make those. But this one's nice. We've got some of that tsuchime pattern, a little bit of the suminagashi, the Damascus. All right, very easy to take care of, and looks awesome. It's another one that makes a great gift. If you prefer a wa or Japanese style handle, we've got the Harayuki Kokuto. It's made out of ginsan, another type of stainless. This one has the reputation of being a little more durable. It's very sharp, like VG10, a little less likely to chip through normal use, all right? It's not quite as fine. But you've got a nice nishiji finish, so that finish that reminds us of a nashi pear, an Asian pear. We got a cool Japanese handle on here too, made with cherry and black paca. Harayuki, in the last year, have started making some single bevel knives. We've got the Harayuki Genjo. This is what's called an asuba. I'm left-handed, so I'm holding it wrong. An asuba is the traditional knife that you would see a sushi chef or a Japanese chef use for a lot of their vegetables and their garnishes. This is the knife if you're doing rotary cutting. I'd show you how, but I'd probably lose a thumb. They make this one out of white carbon number 2. Okay, Shirogami 2 is the type of steel for this. They make yanagibas, they make debas. This particular usuba, a lot of the time you'll see them and they've got a very hard rectangular point. This makes it actually called a kamigata usuba because it's got this kind of sheep's foot point to it. These guys, you've got the Harayuki Tantacutan and the Harayuki Shiso. Both of them, although they've got different looks, different style, they're both made with Algami Super, which is super blue carbon steel, one of the harder steels you can make a knife out of. And both of them are clad in stainless, which really cuts down on the maintenance involved in taking care of your knife. By covering it in stainless steel as opposed to straight up carbon, it's going to cut back on the rusting. We're only going to develop a patina across the edge of the knife, not the whole thing. If you prefer a Western handle, the Tantacutan is the one for you. It's got this red paca handle, a little more weight in the hand. A lot of people who are looking or you're used to a European style knife tend to prefer that style of handle. And then we've got the Shiso with the Japanese style handle. This is what I like, a 240 Japanese octagonal handle. That's a knife for me. And the last ones that Harayuki are making these days is the Yokuma and the Kuma. Yo just means Western. It's referring to the style of handle. Both of these, it's the same blade, but they're made with different types of handles. But the steel is something called SRS 15. It's a powdered stainless steel, so something that's a little more modern. And it's originally made for dentistry. It's got to be hard if you're going to drill into a tooth, right? I own one of these, the 210 Yokuma. I'm a bit of a sucker for the Japanese handles. I generally prefer them, but it's perfect. I've had it for about 2 years. I've only ever touched it up on a stone once. It doesn't really need too much. Just because they're not handmade, they don't have that single human associated with making the knife, doesn't mean that they're not amazing. A lot of the times when you're looking at factory-made knives like Harayuki, you're going to get something that's just as sharp, just as slick looking, maybe not as much, but a factory knife might be the right knife for you.